Hello everyone, my name is Denise and I'm a Catholic counselor. So today's topic will be on hedonism and feeling that God-shaped hole in your heart with the right things. Okay, so that's a long title. Later I'm going to truncate that to make the thumbnail. Okay, so basically when I was musing about whether I wanted to post the last video on the omakase, I hesitated for a long time because it was one of those times that I was using money in a more flippant way, which is not something that I wanted to portray. I mean, honestly speaking, I try my best to portray on my persona someone who's very minimalistic and living by the vows of poverty to some extent. So going to omakase, spending hundreds on a meal, is becomes something almost scandalous and frivolous. So anyway, I spotted that in myself and I mused about it some more and decided to make this follow-up video talking about that. Okay, so the problem about me is that I don't really quote people, right? I don't really quote the original source. And that's because my memory is good in some areas. I'm quite good at remembering facts and events, but I'm not so good at remembering names or numbers. But nonetheless, right, I can tell you that I didn't make this up. It comes from church theology, and one of the church fathers, he said this. It could be Thomas Aquinas or it could be St. Augustine. I can't remember who exactly. But I said there's a God-shaped hole in our hearts that only God can fill. Okay, I think it's Thomas Aquinas. But if we try to fill it up with things like wealth, power, pleasure, honor, it will become it doesn't satisfy and becomes this endless black hole. However, if we fill it up with God, then we will truly be satisfied. The next phrase, I actually did some research, I was hardworking today. It says like, love God, then do whatever you like. They have attributed it to St. Augustine. I'm not sure if he really said that because I didn't read it in any of his works. I just heard it somewhere. So what it means is actually along the same lines as well. If God is really in the center of your life, everything else falls into place, which means you can partake in the pleasures of this world in a very temperate way, not in a very excessive way that impinges in any way on maybe doing the will of God. But still, with that said, it is a very tricky line to cross, to thread, because like I know after I tried the omakase, I like it so much. I can't say that it is not attractive to me at all, that I may not eventually get addicted and then start to like instead of giving money to the poor or offering free counseling, I'm going to charge so that I can earn that money to pay for an expensive meal. You see? So the problem about that is that once there's something expensive and beautiful in the world that you like, then the temptation to do that is there. But if you never ever develop an appetite, right, that is the safest way. Okay, sorry, back to the topic, I digress. So yes, in my work as a counselor, do I work only with Catholics? Nope. Do I work with Christians and Protestants? Yes. Do I work with secular people? Yes. People who are not not Christian or Catholic? Yes. So I get to see a whole plethora of ways that people are living, and it is good. It's very eye-opening for me to be exposed to various ways of thinking, so that when, let's say, I'm listening to a podcast or reading something about the Catholic faith, it does not remain on the book, like, oh, okay, this is a principle and all that. It actually plays out. I really see the consequences of people making such decisions in their lives. And then it's like, oh, it is true, Thomas Aquinas was right. Okay, so I'm going to share some examples now. All the examples, all the identities will be masked, and it's usually an amalgam, so you don't know who I'm talking about. So for my clients, especially the non-Christians, not all of them, some non-Christians also live really fabulous, fantastic lives, right? They are really, I feel they are sometimes even more aligned than Catholics like me. Aligned to moral virtue. But I'm talking now about those who are more anxious or even depressive, they tend to, or even those especially suffering from bipolar disorder, or those who suffer from personality disorders, they tend to experience phases in their life where they overly consume the goods of the world and sort of get a high from it, although it's not fully satisfying, but they still get a buzz from it. Okay, so if I use the God-shaped hole analogy, it sort of filled it up a little bit for a time, and they want to sustain it, and hence they use up all their resources or drain the bank account such that even the basic necessities they're not able to afford, and then they'll start to borrow money from random people, okay, or even do weird things just to earn the extra money, just to get that buzz. Wow, gosh, when I see that, I feel so hurt and so troubled, because I was thinking that all these things, instead of giving you happiness, they actually bring you further away from happiness, and it's degrading to your human dignity. Alright? And yeah, so that's quite shocking. But that's still not too bad. Like, for example, if it just remains a domain of like getting money to pay for delicious food or to shop, buy things, right? But when it goes into the domain of like I'm getting the money to pay for sexual services, so or maybe going online to have those sex chats and all that, it does not only mess with your finances, it's also messing a lot with your dignity, your view of human life, of yourself and of other people. You start to degrade, and the whole concept of chasing after a real relationship with a real human being starts to get fuzzy. Humans become used as a means to an end, which is your pleasure. So that is troubling. And okay, this is a major tangent. I wanted to make a video just on that, but it's popping to my mind now, which I observe this especially most exclusively in the bipolar patients, which is that because they experience phases of mania where they are overly optimistic, then euthymia, then depression, right? So it's quite sad, because when they truly receive a real love, like someone who's really coming in to help them, whether it's the counselor or Jesus coming in to help them, at first, if they happen that I entered their life during the manic phase, they will be very welcoming. Like, oh yes, Denise is coming to help me, I'm very motivated. Then suddenly they get depressive again, then they just start to discount it all, like, no, she's not coming to help me, she's coming to harm me. My initial optimism was entirely due to the mania. I just misread that. Actually, it's not true. My love and intention to help was always there, and it is consistent and steadfast to my human extent. Like, I'm not a saint, so it is wavering a little bit, but it was always there, and it continues to linger and hold firmly in spite of his or her waves. Okay, so during mania, oh, then this is so nice, right? Then during depression, oh, everything was a lie. So it's very hard to convince them to have this strong belief and attachment. In order to form that strong relationship, they tend to drift away and think, oh, it was all a lie, or if I stay any longer, there's going to be evidence that's going to be a lie. So that's actually really the hardest cohort to work with. So imagine if Jesus came into your life and offer salvation, offer a chance for you to cure your moral privation and to be whole again. You need to to be able to have a steadfast belief that is true, and to hold on to Jesus' hand and not let go, because he's always trying to hold on to you, right? That actually requires lots of faith. But people who are bipolar, they can't have it, they can't sustain it, because of a lifetime of mania, depression, just very, very unstable. So So when they are manic, they consume and consume and consume. Either it is your love, your attention, or they consume the worldly goods. Huh? Then when they're depressive, they stop consuming. You still want to give love, but they don't want it anymore. So it's equivalent to like you go and you come to church for like 2 weeks when you're having mania, and then after that, go out like God doesn't love me. Then you come back to church when you're having mania. It's just like, well, God always loves you. The door was always open. You just didn't walk to the source of love. Okay, sorry, I digress. So back to St. Augustine, love God and then just do whatever you want. If God is in the core of your life and He's the one who's mainly satisfying you every day, then you want to go for the omakase, you can. You want to occasionally buy a beautiful dress, you can. You wanna work hard and climb the ladder in your career, you can. So all those will be guided by God's will, the central core. Okay? But if it is like the central core is to earn enough money to fund your hedonistic pursuits, which is either, I told you, food, holidays, house, car, sex, stuff like that, then you notice that your values become very warped. So there are women who will go for abortions just so that it will not affect their career. Why? Because their career gives them the money to buy the things that pleasures them. So you can imagine how warped is that. Their own flesh and blood, their own children, the beauties and joys of motherhood is actually now subservient to the pleasures of this world. So that is really the darkness of hedonism. Whereas if the person was always aligned with God's will, then it becomes a clear-cut decision. You don't have to think about it. Also, you're pregnant now, then give up whatever you need to give up to save that life. Make sure it comes out safely, and then be a fantastic mother, because it's the greatest blessing, one of the greatest blessings that you can ever have. Being a mother is hard, but it comes with great joys as well, right? So, okay, I'm just going to close with this. There's a period of time that I wasn't doing so well. I didn't have many clients in my private practice. So I went to church, I went to Father Albert and said, it's better for me to see some clients in the church for free than to stay at home and then rot. So he started to refer some of the church parishioners to me. And strangely, as I worked for the church, my private practice started to pick up also. It's so odd, because it's like God saying, okay, finally you're doing what you ought to do. But because you're doing what you ought to do, I need to provide for you financially too. So He gives me a source of income outside. So from then on, my core principle was always to, those parishioners that come in through the church are even more precious, because those are actually my core vocation. Of course, I love my paying clients too, and I treat them with care and love. But it's so much easier to like, oh, you pay, I treat you this way. Oh, you're not paying, then I treat you like a degraded form of client, because you are so-called of a lower caste. I can do that, right? Only to the extent that I do not have attachment to the things of the world. If I start to like omakase too much, for example, then I will be like, oh, I need to see these two clients, I need to charge them so that I can afford to bring myself to this delicious meal, right? Instead of like serving in church. And then my whole values will start to get warped. That is kind of scary, I thought. Okay, so that's all for today's video. I hope you found it helpful. And if you did, kindly press like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much, and God bless.